trying to figure out how to do the live chat on YouTube real quick. Looks like I've had a couple people stop by. I think I'm going to focus the beginning of this tutorial not on coding per se, but on getting a live stream running and trying to get some people on it. Let's see. I've got to figure a lot of this out. I don't really know how to chat. Oh, here we go. Let's just cut off. Bug. Hello. Testing the chat out. Feel free to chat with me if you get bored. Alrighty. Had to change into my lucky underwear, you know? It is 68 degrees outside. I'm gonna open the window a little more. You guys will be able to hear that downtown Salt Lake City tracks. Get some ambience going on in here. I might put on some really light music, just quiet enough that it hopefully won't register on YouTube. Let's see what we can do. Oh, it's coming through my headphones even better. If you guys want to follow this playlist, I will link it in the chat. Share playlist link. drop this into Facebook. This way you can listen along, but I won't be taken down by YouTube. Okay, it's in Facebook. And YouTube is buggy. Live chat. I can't even use it. Pop out chat. There we go. That's way better. Project Bonsai playlist. So Project Bonsai was originally what I called this project, and now it's called Bonsai LMS. I actually named it Project Bonsai back in maybe a year and a half ago, and then I came back to this idea after kind of sitting on it for a while. I launched the MVP, the alpha version of this project, maybe 3 or 4 months ago. I think it was about 3 months ago. And right around that time, I go to check my SEO results to find that Microsoft launched something, I think it was within the same week that I did, maybe even a week or two after. I guess they'd named some machine learning project Bonsai, and then they renamed it to Project Bonsai. Anyways, good luck fighting them in court. So I am going to stick with Bonsai LMS for now. Alright, I'm just getting used to this whole live streaming thing. It's pretty new to me. So, let's get rolling. Just gonna mix the music a little bit down so I can hear myself think. Okay, so here we are at Bonsai's landing page. And you'll find that there are a lot of resources linked within here. We have the GitHub repository, and we have the roadmap. For some reason, I noticed this link isn't working right now, but this should link to the Trello board, which sometimes I'll follow. I'm kind of transitioning. I started with Trello, and now I'm transitioning to using Notion more. Notion does do the Kanban board, but it's not as sexy and smooth and user-friendly as Trello is yet. Maybe one day it'll get there, but for now, I really enjoy using Trello for just going through a project real quick and being able to check things off. Okay, let's see, what did I have in here? There should be a link in here somewhere. Drop down. Oh yeah, it used to be a drop down. Interesting. Is there a Trello link in here? Yeah. Drop down item. That will invite you to the Project Bonsai and Masterclass. So I'll fix that, but you kind of gotta see how to hack that right there. That's just using the inspector. If you don't know how to open it, just right click. Okay, this is the Bonsai speedrun. And this one is also the Bonsai speedrun. Interesting. Alright, there's another issue. I should almost have a, show you kind of how I use Notion as a Bible of sorts to everything that's going on. So if I come into resources, let's open up an issues page. So it's going to be /page. We'll call this issues. Later we'll probably convert this to GitHub so there's a single source within the repository, but for now, just to keep it quick and simple, I'm going to stick with what I know. So issues, Trello button not working, and 2 Trello links are the same. Now these aren't necessarily relevant to the project I'm working on, but this is Bonsai as a whole. And if I take care of Bonsai, if I water it, prune it, give it love, sunlight, fresh air, then this project will be a lot better for it. Okay. And then there's another subcategory, let's call website. Bonsai website. Okay. And along the way, I will refer back to that when I need to. Okay, so we have our Trello board. We have our courses open up. So just come into our Notion right here. You'll see courses. I'm going to do this in a web browser for the courses. That way I can open up new tabs and have multiple pages open, which the native app, I don't think it allows you to do that really, which kind of sucks. I guess it keeps you more focused on the page at hand for certain tasks. So basically this is the master class for Bonsai, and it's kind of a master class right now. I have a couple advanced courses, but I always want to keep this speedrun free. And what this is getting as far, it's like a sprint to get as far along in the project as possible in as short amount of time as possible. That results in scripts that build everything up from scratch. And how I'm going to do this project is, I'll call it perfectionism. I'm going to play it on perfectionist, which is the most difficult level of difficulty. And I go through it and I mess it up. I always do. As will you. You'll probably mess up something in the configuration. A misspelling. It could be a wrong symbol in a password. It could be a line that you forgot to comment out or put your URL in correctly. It's usually in the configuration where you go wrong, but I want this to be a plug and play. So if you have a fresh install, open up a brand new Mac with Catalina is the most stable version I've tested this on. It'll probably take a couple months at least to get to Big Sur. But I have documented this entire process from a brand new fresh install of Catalina running those scripts from that fresh install to the point of getting this website up. And I would do that over and over again until I got it perfectly. If I messed something up in the configuration, I would go back, document what it was, make a note of it so that I didn't miss it next time, and then I'd restart the entire thing, start with a fresh slate, and follow the instructions perfectly. So I would like to think that my tutorials are for people that can follow instructions really well. And there's no gaps, really. I basically do it from start to finish. So as long as you can follow what I do from start to finish, you really don't need to have any prior education on how to program, how to code, or much of how to even use a computer. Because I can talk you through that when I'm on the live chat here. You can feel free to ask questions. So this is where we start. Quick setup. We're gonna skip the first step because the first step is from a very fresh install. The next step is getting set up, your laptop all set up to run Bonsai LMS. I've already done all of these things. I'm not gonna reformat my computer just for this live stream, unfortunately, although that would be fun sometime. So we will ignore the quick setup. Feel free to check that out if you ever want to. And I need multiple Notion tabs. Notion, if you're listening, please include multiple windows. That would be cool. Oh, wow. It worked. Okay. I'm sorry. Ooh, that looks so good though. See how much better Trello looks than the Kanban boards. Okay, so we have Bonsai LMS. We're gonna come into courses and courses. What was the shortcut for that? Shift Command N. So first will be configure Bonsai. And really how this project works is all of the configuration work that goes up front is the hardest stuff by far. Because if you set it up right, then you just run scripts and voila, you have like almost exactly everything done. Maybe 90% of it. Maybe more. And I lost my train of thought. Yeah, so the configuration can be the most challenging part. Like I said earlier, you might get a symbol and a password wrong. You might miss uncommenting something as simple as that, and it will basically break the process. Good thing is, when you do it correctly, it always works. It should always work. So we're gonna really focus on getting this configuration set up. Now I'm doing this project right now for a potentially a client one day, maybe. This is more of a beta, private beta, and the Futur, the company The Futur without an E, it's one of the biggest online design classrooms. They are going to get to trial this, test it out, see how it works. I'm going to get to improve it based off the feedback. So it's going to be a fun process, and I'm going to create this site probably anywhere from 3 to 100 times. Because every time I don't like how I did something, I'm going to go back and document it, and I'm going to change something in the process. I'm going to wipe this slate clean, and I'm going to do it over again until I get it perfect. This might take a couple of days, might take a couple of weeks. It all depends on how happy I am with how it's coming out. So let me get the configuration lined out. We're not going to configure it for the future yet. I'll do that down the road. The first goal when I do this project is to just hit the ground running and get the project up, get it on a staging server, get an identical environment to that working on your local computer so you can develop at lightning speed, even offline. Provision, deploy the staging server, then provision and deploy the production server. Once that's all up and running, test a couple things. I'll put it on. I might not do the production server yet. We will see. I'll at least do the staging, and I will probably set it up on one of my subdomains. You could set it up on an IP address, and I used to do that for just getting it up on a server quickly. The problem with that is you can't serve an SSL over an IP address, and we're going to want the staging and obviously the production environment on an SSL, but it just makes the process a lot more difficult to provision and deploy the site without the SSL, and then to change it and say, never mind, I do want the SSL now. You basically have to re-provision the whole server. Sometimes I run into caching issues. So I think it's worth the time to invest setting up the DNS, getting it on a real staging domain, subdomain of my company for now. That's where I'll probably put it. So let me get that all thought out and lined out. The next little while, I'll probably just be listening to some music, taking notes, and starting to look over the configuration files. So don't be overwhelmed if this seems like a lot right now, because the configuration is really the hardest part of this entire project, and it really only involves just going through a couple files and switching out my information with your information. So putting your domain, putting your email, your company name, things like that. There's some parts where there's some passwords. It gets a little more complex when we get into the security. I think I'll do that on a later date so that we can just speaking of which, if we're not going to do security now, I won't even worry about the SSL today. We're going to see how fast we can get just a basic Bonsai up and running. Now, I haven't done this for maybe a month or maybe a couple months. So I think it'll be realistic how fast somebody else could spin one of these up. And I'm going to take a little bit of a break just so I can have a breather before I dig into it. So I'll be right back, and we'll get started on this. Alright, I am just going to take a minute here and post a story on Instagram so that anyone who wants to drop in this session can. Let's see. It's pretty good. It's pretty neat. Okay. Live on YouTube and Facebook today, building a real project. Let's say a real web app. Sounds fancy. From scratch. And that'll do. Link in bio. Then I gotta change my bio link. To whatever my YouTube is. There we go. Pasting. Okay, that'll do. God. My YouTube URL is quite the ugly beast. I'll have to fix that in the future. Let's see. Can I download the story? Save, yes. Save photo. And then I'm gonna go to my business account, do the same thing. I need to link my YouTube more on the top of the website, so I can just link to the website for everything. But for now, I'll put the YouTube in there. Okie dokie. Now, we come into, okay, that's configuration. I'm going to come back here for a second. Go into issues. Add YouTube and link tree to top of hero on landing page. Yeah. Let's go back into courses. Configure Bonsai. Now I need to make sure if I want to follow Trello or Notion for this. I'm kind of in a weird in-between phase at the moment. I think I'll keep them both up. But I'm trying to, I don't know what I'm going to decide in the end. I like using them both. One day Notion will probably get to the point where it can look this good and be this like responsive. Brew. Okay, new install. Let's see how well they correlate with each other. I think I'm gonna do Trello because I have some interesting notes in here that I don't have in the courses. So we'll just we'll try this out. We'll see how it goes. I'm just gonna pull these windows off on my peripheral. You know where to find them. They are on the home page. And I will I'll leave this here. No, we'll see. I'm going to take it over here for a second. Can't really see it that well right there. Can't forget to look at my chat. Always a mix between Trello, Asana, and Notion for me. From Mathis. Yeah. Asana is really cool as well. I try and keep it really simple, so that's what I love about Trello is Asana feels so 30,000 feet in the air that usually multiple projects going on at the same time while you're kind of looking at it. And I like Trello for being focused on one specific task. Mathis, where did you find me? Reddit, Facebook, the Futur, YouTube. Okay, let's get started on this. So, come back here into courses in Notion, and we'll open up Quick Setup. Okay, this section right here, this is actually done for every project. I haven't actually included the new install portion of this yet. It's sitting around here somewhere. If you look at the actual LMS, whoa, I'm getting some slow speeds. I don't know if that's from streaming or what. Yeah, my CPU is, luckily I just ordered a new CPU. It will be here tomorrow. Okay. So this is Quick Setup, Configure Bonsai. In here, I do have the new install portion, I believe. Now, where is that? I guess I haven't posted that yet. anyways. The Pro WordPress subreddit. Awesome, man. Great to have somebody here. I'm not really spreading this too wide to the world yet, because this is my first live stream ever, so I kind of want to fill out the ropes, but I will tell you that the way I do a project is I do it over and over again until I get it exactly the way that I want it, really smooth, kind of perfectionist style. So I'm gonna be doing a speed run through this and see how quick I can do it. And my goal is to get the servers up and running as quickly as possible. Just make sure that there's no bugs that have risen up in the code over the past month since I've last done this. And once we get it up, then we're gonna start customizing it for the future. But the first goal is to get it up. So we'll start there with the basic template, doing a speed run. And it is 10:53, so let's start the speed run in 7 minutes. I really like to kind of get loose before I do this, because it takes about, if I do it quickly, it'll be about 30-40 minutes. And especially given how much my CPU is running right now, that could slow it down a little bit, and me stopping to explain some things could also slow it down. So let me just go through this and make sure that all my ducks are in a line. Oh, wait. Yeah, so come into courses, quick setup. You're gonna download Bonsai, you're gonna set up the SSH keys, you're going to install all of the requirements. I already have that part done, and this part. So I'm going to be starting with setup servers today. If you've never set up SSH keys on your computer before, or set up all these requirement softwares such as Ansible, VirtualBox, etc., then feel free to ask. I'm going to glaze over that today, especially given that Matt is from Pro WordPress community. He's probably a little familiar with how to set up Node and all that stuff. So we'll be starting with setting up servers. We link up our SSH keys. We edit our hosts folder. We add name servers. I feel like that's too easy. Did I delete something? Okay. So yeah, the harder part of this is just getting all the different software and specifically the versions that all work correctly together. Then we're gonna start configuring Bonsai, which will involve opening it up in a code editor and changing some configuration files. Like I said earlier, this is easily the hardest part, just because you have to pay attention closely. Pay attention to all the details of spelling and punctuation. And then we'll be creating a GitHub repository. Then we will be configuring our trellis files, which is Ansible configuration. Then, as I said earlier, we're going to be skipping over the security today, just because I'll probably do this a handful of times. Hey Matt, It was good to meet you, man. I am trying to create an open source version of Teachable, basically. So, I mean, it won't be the exact same. Obviously, it'll be self-hosted, and it'll be more flexible. So, yeah, stay tuned. Keep in touch, man. Good luck at your meeting. Okay. Configuring email. Yeah, as I was saying, we're not going to configure security today because I'm going to be recreating this project so many times that it's just faster not to focus on security right now. Before you take it to production, you definitely want to do the security portion of the course. That is actually only available if you pay me. Just kidding. There's actually a little secret that I'll give you guys. If you go to the Bonsai LMS Notion page and you come into, let me open another one of these guys. Okay. I want to come into courses, and you can actually access the paid courses right here. Eventually, I'll probably find a way of password protecting that or removing that from Notion, but right now, that's the quickest place for me to iterate, edit. Then I've got a workflow where you can export the code from Notion, drop it into Bonsai LMS, and then from here, God, my computer's being so slow. I should probably unplug one of the 34-inch monitors that I'm not using. But my GPU is kind of struggling. I wonder how much of that's OBS for the live stream. Okay, so if you come into one of these lessons, you'll notice that it's really ugly. Like, really ugly. Like, what is that? So that is the exported code directly from Notion. Now, there's a couple things I did where I did like a search and replace on these checkboxes to make them bootstrap checkboxes. And then, I don't know, I did a couple of things, but I need to really like take some time and design this. I'll design a specific style sheet for Notion so that if you don't use Notion for your workflow, then you can just comment out that style sheet. Pages for now, that will come in the next, probably the next couple weeks. Okay, let's get everything all cleaned up and ready to go. It is 11 o'clock. It's time to get rolling. Okay, let's see how bad I mess it up or how well I can follow my own process. Okay, I'm pulling these back off the screen. Configure Bonsai. Quick setup. So, here we go. Okay, now this is actually, this is going to slow me down for a second. Where did I put Trello? I'm just going to open the app. God, it's so slow right now. I'm guessing OBS is really sucking up, but it could be Chrome too, because I'm running Restream through Chrome. No, it looks like it's OBS that's really working heavy. Alright, fair enough. Guess I just gotta deal with it for now until I get my new components. Okay. This is not what I was looking for. Not the masterclass, but we're going to start with speedrun today. Need to clarify that running VM on new install is only if you have pre-existing projects. Okay. Yeah, that's irrelevant to most of our viewers today. Clean Mac OS install. Yep. Download Project Bonsai. Okay, so this process is going from a clean install. Right now, we do not need that. Ooh. Now, in 2 hours, the Futur is doing a live stream that looks really interesting. The girl that runs their ads is doing a office hours live stream on Facebook ads at 1 o'clock my time. That's in 2 hours. That could be cool to catch. Or maybe just the recording. Joe Rogan, leave me alone right now. Okay. So since this isn't a clean install, I already have the requirements set up. I do have downloading Project Bonsai before running the requirements, so we'll just kind of walk over that. But the issue is I haven't actually updated the main repository for a minute. Might have even been a month or two. I've been getting a little lazy, I guess, or busy. This was last updated 2 months ago. And what has changed since? Let's find Github Diff between repository. How do I do this? No, I want to do it through like an app or an interface somehow. Compare view. That's exactly what I'm looking for. So I have a repository for the open source version of Bonsai, and then the actual website itself has to be run off of a test repository because there's certain details in there that wouldn't be encrypted, even if it's just some info, some API keys. I'm not sure that I don't encrypt any of that in the repository, but I think this would be best just so I can see what I need to update, if anything. I think most of it's pretty specific to my version of Bonsai, but if it's something that I would want to globally affect all of Bonsai, then I will want to commit a new version. Okay, I'm not sure this is going to be easy to do between two repositories. I think I've done it before, but for for now, let's just roll with the old version of Bonsai, because we're going to be doing this multiple times over and over, and I can make those updates in coming days and weeks. Okay, I know this is taking long enough, but I think we're finally ready. Download Project Bonsai. You can do that either from the GitHub repository or from the website itself. I'm going to use the GitHub repository. This is the easy way to do it. I'll be showing you how to do some things through the command line as we go. And do not be intimidated by it if you are not a serious coder, as it's a lot easier than it looks once you have someone to explain it to you and show you. Okay, so this is Bonsai Master. I'm going to change it to the Futur. Don't want to call it anything fancy. Usually just like to stick to the project name if there's only going to be one main repository. And now I will, okay, when you download it, it looks like it deletes the Git file. Okay, so you'll see this in my new install tutorials, but I'm using GitHub desktop app. GitHub's typically run through the terminal, like so. You know, running git clone and then putting the GitHub URL in there, something like that. But I really like this. It's really beginner friendly, and it does most of the basic functions that GitHub does, which is really all I use. I'm not crazy into version controlling. I love the concept of it, but it can get pretty technical. So this does all the basic functionality. You've got your projects right here in the sidebar. I will just come into Finder, drag and drop, and it takes me through this weird process. I'm actually going to click Create a Repository. I'll name it the Futur on Bonsai LMS. That is not the path that I want, so let's cancel this. This needs to be dragged into, I like to have my user, create a sites directory, and then put all of my websites in here. So that's where I'll drag it. Sites. And I usually like things lowercase too. Okay. There is no Git file in there. Drag and drop this in here. Create a repository. The Futur. I will capitalize it here. This won't interfere with any syntax. Description. Sites. Initialize repository with a readme. I already have a readme. Git ignore. License. Don't worry about any of that. Create the repository. Did this work? Publish. One more time. Capitalize. I don't know why it has you do this twice exactly. I'm going to do this under my organization. Keep this code private. Okay, now there's a shortcut, I think Command G, Shift Command G. Ooh, Should probably turn on Do Not Disturb so nobody texts me. Okay. So this is a copy of Bonsai, basically. And it's working. So another cool shortcut is Command-Shift-A, which will open up GitHub's text editor called Atom. I believe you can also set that to say like Sublime Text or Visual, something like that. Okay. There we go. Fits pretty well. Okay, so this is where a lot of the magic's gonna happen over here in Atom. I'm just gonna get a little more organized on what's going on here. Gonna get rid of Spotify for now. No, I actually want something like that. We'll see. Okay. So let me show you how this project works a little bit. This is the project structure right here. We have site and we have trellis. Now, if you don't know this already, this project is mostly based off the great work built upon the hard work of the Roots team. I would like to say that I'm a part of that team, but those guys are really a lot smarter than me. I've used their forums and sometimes paid them to console me to get to the point where I can run the root stack. I banged my head against the wall trying to read the forums for years and years. There were no good video tutorials, and I could have learned it so much faster if there was. So that's when I started making them. The problem is I found out that video tutorials are really hard to make for GitHub projects, especially one that moves as fast-paced as Roots does, because by the time the video starts to catch traction in YouTube's algorithm, it's going to be a completely updated stack from where it was, and there's probably going to be a couple different steps just in the matter of a couple months. So another goal of Bonsai LMS for me was to basically take Roots, build a sandbox around it, and maybe find a middle ground between WordPress legacy support and Roots fast adoption. Try and find something that's stable, that's not necessarily cutting edge right now, but has proven once cutting edge technology. It's really kind of a boring stack if you think about it. WordPress, Gravity Forms, Sensei. I'll probably be adding in WooCommerce soon. A lot of pretty boring tools, but Roots really spices it up with SCSS, JS6, JavaScript, routing, Laravel Blade templating for PHP. A lot of really cool stuff built into it. And then you take in the fact that WordPress API is enabled, WordPress command lines enabled. You can do some pretty gnarly stuff with it. So let's keep rolling on this. Oh yeah, lost my train of thought again. So here we were looking at the project structure, and we have site and trellis. This is a basic project structure of any roots project that uses the full roots stack. If you don't know what roots is, real quick, let me just pull up their site, go to roots.io. I'd like to call it the anti-WordPress version of WordPress. Feel free to look more into it. I'm not going to go super into depth. There is a lot of information on this site and on their forums. And you should support them on GitHub or Patreon as well, which will give you exclusive access to their Slack channel, which is actually where I've seen a lot of really interesting conversations going on. It's pretty active. So we have site. This is your WordPress file right here. This is, if you go to wordpress.org and download, this is a reconfigured version of that. And it's way better in my opinion. So, couple interesting things in here. Under scripts, that is where the magic of Bonsai LMS takes place. So I posted this live stream on Reddit yesterday and told some people about it. One of the subreddits was Pro WordPress, and somebody commented and said that they were intrigued by this project. They checked it out. They looked through the GitHub repository and they were confused because they come to find it's basically just roots with some scripts. And that is correct. That is basically exactly what it is. These scripts allow you to customize it and automate the entire process. So I don't know if I'd say it's just some scripts. If somebody knows how to script well, then this is definitely nothing new to them. But this was pretty mind-blowing for me that you could create an entire WordPress site, even the database stuff, from some scripts. So we have new install. That is what I would run when starting a new version of Mac OS. Then the requirements is really what gets you set up to run Bonsai LMS. So this is all the tools and whatnot from the stack required. Then from there we're going to run on to development, which really sets up the virtual environment on your local machine. And then from there we go to staging. And I probably shouldn't be showing my gravity forms. I thought I removed those. Huh. Whoopsie daisies. Weird. Okay, and then yeah, these are all the scripts that gets everything up and running. And you, with roots, you'll want to go purchase. Ben Word, the creator, made a script called roots.io sync script. Yeah, just pick this bad boy up. And it gives you the ability to sync databases across from your different environments or different websites even. So I don't know if you guys are WordPress developers, you might have heard of a tool called MigrateDB Pro. It is probably the most widely adopted database management migration plugin for WordPress. Thing is, if I come into pricing, I believe it's like $250 a year for like the developer license. Okay, it's $200 a year. Still a little expensive for SyncScript does the exact same thing, given maybe a tiny little bells and whistles that aren't in it, but unlimited sites for 40 bucks. That's a pretty good deal. If you just have one website, 10 bucks. It's not gonna break the bank. And I would love to include something like that in the project, but if you wanna support the Roots project, pick that up. That will, it's basically required for this project, unless you wanna download that plugin I just mentioned. Okay, back to Trello. Bruce, WP, CPLI is in requirements now. That was one thing I've changed. Brew, okay, CPLI, okay, that's been updated since then. Node version 10 in requirements. That is correct. Run new install. I've already done that. Add SSH keys and config. Okay, now I'm going to refer back to my Notion doc, because I believe this will eventually become the primary source of truth. Set up DigitalOcean account. Done all of these. Install requirements, done. Remove unnecessary virtual boxes. So I think this is actually going to be better than Trello for now. So we'll see. I kind of like that up. Okay, so how we do that, one easy way you could do it is you could just open up VirtualBox. Okay, and given that I haven't done a Futur website before, there's nothing to worry about here. If I was redoing a site, I would just want to make sure I come in here and clear it. Bonsai test aborted. Interesting. Wonder what that means. We'll see later. Remove unnecessary VirtualBox machines. Then we are going to come into our known host folder and clear it for any duplicates or old hosts. Just want to keep things clean, tidy house a little bit. So this is where things can get a little bit interesting. I'm going to bring this iTerm window over here. And okay, so come into our, this tilde key just means finds your root path, your home directory, which would be where you automatically are when you open up terminal. I've got some construction. I'm just gonna deal with it and start closing the window. Okay, so if I do open period, that will open up Finder and show you that this is exactly where I am, is in your user folder right here. From here, you can go anywhere and find your way back with a tilde/ .ssh, which is a hidden directory, and then come into known hosts. Clear. Ooh, so actually I want to do sudo vim because I want to edit it. Sudo gives you sudo or root privileges. Vim is the type of text editor we're going to use real quick. Don't be too intimidated. I know this is hard to read. Okay, I'm just looking for anything that I probably will never use again. More duplicates. I don't think I need these IP addresses. I'm not quite sure what these are from. You don't have to be too careful. You can easily regenerate this folder if you need, this file if you need to. Okay, I'm gonna keep that. I don't know what all these IPs are. Okay, so I was deleting those lines by navigating up and down with arrows and hitting DD on the keypad. This is a really weird text editor. I'm gonna hit I so that I can insert, make edits. And now I've got to come all the way to the end. I don't know all the shortcuts for this text editor, so bear with me. Okay. Oh, I actually don't need to put anything. Silly me. So now I will do escape. That gives me the ability to do colon. In this bottom left, you see that colon. And then WQ, which stands for right quit. Enter. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Now we do the same thing in etc. hosts. Maples, Hydra, Bonsai. That's looking pretty clean to me. So I'm just going to do escape, colon, quit. Didn't need to save anything that time. Now I need to deal with the name servers, which are to point them towards DigitalOcean. I already have that. I use Namecheap. You're going to find your domain registrar and you're going to point your name servers to DigitalOcean. If that's confusing to you, it's as simple as typing in name servers, Namecheap. You find an article, it takes you there. And you copy this, paste it in one field. You copy this, paste it in the next field. Copy this, paste it in the next field. Click save, and it should be good to go. Now we're going to create the droplets. So this is where we start to see something tangible. I'm going to be really careful what I show on screen here. I just want to be safe with my server. So I've pulled up DigitalOcean.com. I am just going to sign in. Two-step authentication enabled, so let me take care of that real quick. lost my authenticator app, which is just dandy. Okay. Got this verification code, and I think we should be good. Yeah, this is definitely going to take longer while I'm streaming. My computer's so slow. Alright, so these are my servers. I have never created a new project, but I think now would be a good time. Name your project the Future. Add a description. Bonsai LMS for the Future. Private beta. Class project, website or blog, web application. I'd consider this more of a web application just because the functionality is pretty dope. Start typing to find and select existing. Move resources into the Future. No. Got it. Oh, that's really convenient now that I can organize things in projects. Okay, let's get started with a droplet. This is new. We'll click that. We're gonna do a base Ubuntu, so don't touch anything. Shared CPU. What? Has it always been that way? General purpose, 60. Yeah. Shared R basic droplet. Huh. I never knew that the CPU was shared on the lower plans, but I believe scaling up is really easy with DigitalOcean, so feel free to do the lowest plan for now, especially during testing. We don't need any block storage. No. You want to think about where your audience is when you pick your server. Eventually I'll be setting this up through Cloudflare for CDN, so that won't matter so much. But since I'm close to the West Coast and the Future is close to the West Coast, we'll go with San Fran for now. I don't need a VPC. If you've taken the prerequisite course, you'll know how to get your SSH keys all set up and get this put in. I think it's this one. Yeah. And then I'm going to do two different droplets. One will be the Future V. Oh yeah, how do I usually name these? I think it's the Future dash staging dash underscore V 0.0.1. If I could go lower than that, I probably would. We can start there. And then I'm going to come and do staging. And in this one, production. Can't really think of any tags to add. Assign droplets to a project. Enable backups. Okay, a couple things that changed here, so I just wanted to make sure everything was all good. This is $1 a month for backups. I might do that once the production ones are up, but I don't need to focus on that for now. So why, okay, I don't think it likes underscores or periods maybe. Okay, that works. Create droplets. All right, what's our next step gonna be? Okay, those are the final steps of quick setup. The rest is mostly configuration. So let's get to it. All right, let's get down to it. Create GitHub repository. We already did that. Configure trellis group vars. So we'll come into Atom. I'm going to close up site. I'm going to open up trellis. This is where all the IP automation, IT automation happens. This is mostly Ansible stuff, so it's Vagrant and Ansible right here. We're going to come into group vars, all. We're just going to work our way down, so we don't need to edit anything in there or here. This we will want to set up. I'm going to do that in a later tutorial because I'm still trying to figure out who I want to use as my SMTP provider. SendGrid's been giving me some issues lately. Getting a lot of spam folders, so we're going to hold off on that. That's part of the advanced courses anyways. Not very hard to do. Main, nothing in there. Security, nothing in there. For now. Now this, you might change this depending on what SSH keys you're using. If you're using the default, then it will most likely be IDE RSA. And then you just want to take these and add the appropriate username. I believe those are my keys. Now if I wanted to do a group, then I could do Jackalope IO in there. But since I'm a lone developer at the moment, I'll leave that. Click save. Now I open the vault, and here's where an SMTP password would go. Now that I would also consider part of the security module of the speedrun. So when you're doing this right, when you're taking it to production, you'd probably want to do the password. Go ahead. I'd be pretty impressed. So all is good for now. Now we'll come into development. Let's make sure I'm not getting too ahead of ourselves. Yep. So we break this down a little further. We've done all that. We did all users. Now we edit development WordPress sites. This is the main config file for your local server. I'm gonna leave that as a test, but let's put the future here. And then don't forget about this, I always do. Now this is your site name, so name this whatever you want, but it's gotta be consistent to your other site names. So let's do thefuture.com. That's just what you're gonna call it. That doesn't really matter. This is what matters right here for your URL locally. And that looks good for now. Okay, so now we come into Development Vault, and we will just leave this the same for now as well. Although when you do security, we put some secure passwords in there and then encrypting it so that they're not stored on the repository. Now we do staging WordPress sites, and I think you're starting to see the pattern here. Take this and thefuture.com. Take this complex URL and we'll name it staging. And we'll call it the future.jackalope.io. And I think we did this to my personal account, and we'll call this the future. For staging, we will leave the SSL off for now. So you might want to change that to disabled just because I'm doing a speed run. And this is not going to be the final site. Now in Vault, once again, you'd come through here and you would put all sorts of crazy secure passwords in there. Ooh, the one thing I always forget is to make these two the exact same between the files. So I think we almost missed that. Future.com, future.com. Come into development, look at this, and we missed it. Okay. Now we will do the same. I don't know that we'll actually be needing this right now. Let's just get it done. Future.com. Production. Bonsai, let's call it staging dot I don't know if they're using that. Let's check it out. I'm not actually gonna provision deploy this tonight, I don't think, since I would need access to their DNS. Vault, same thing, just make sure you get this right here, or it will fail. I usually double check that they're consistent, just to make sure. Future.com, future.com. Okay, Looks good. Let's see where we're at now. WordPress site staging, Vault staging, WordPress production, Vault production. Be careful not to start passwords with a symbol. We'll cover that in the security at a later time. My friend Andrew says hello. What's up, dude? Hope it's going well down in Moab, one of the most beautiful cities in the world. Okay. Security configuration. We're going to skip over. Configure email. We're going to skip over. But in a production ready version, we would do those right there in the process. Configure WordPress command line interface. So check this out. This is where we configure WP CLI. You're gonna collapse trellis, come back into site. Check out WP-CLI. Now this is configured for Bonsai right now, so we'll do everywhere it says Bonsai, we want the future. Vagrant, the future.test, the future.jackalope.io. www, that's the site name right here. This is future.com. So the site name actually correlates with not the actual URL or domain, but right in this red line right here. That's where it comes from. Future.com. Future.com. Production will be I don't know, maybe we would call it Bonsai during beta testing. Then we can do staging dot. This one we'll just do the future dot jackalope, and then the other one will do Bonsai at the future.com. This one does correlate with the URL. The future test, the future.jackalope, bonsai.thefuture. Okay, I think that makes sense. Make sure everything's consistent, and that should be good to go. Development is set to your local testing domain. Staging is set to your staging host or domain. Host name or domain. Okay, so you could name this the host name if you wanted. Ooh. I might have to come back to that later if we have any issues. But since I version named on DigitalOcean, that'd be a little harder. Because I don't know if it changes the syntax. We can check that out later. All right. Configure shell scripts. So we are almost done with the configuration. I know that was so hard. And the hardest part. Okay. close Trellis again, coming back to scripts under site. Remember, these are all these shell scripts that are dope. Okay, building, yes. We're gonna start, we'll just go from top to bottom to make it easy. Development is really the most important first one we start with. I don't think we need to clean the database right now. Composer update. Yeah, that should do. Trellis site. Why does it seem weird? Back out of Trellis. Back out of site. Why does that seem so weird to me? Okay. I think there should be something right there. Let me cross check this with my current project. Bonsai example. Scripts, development. And, oh, because that's not a comment. Silly me. This is a command. Okay, Trellis, Vagrant up, site, Bonsai, yarn build, composer install. All this is good. Now this is your core install. You can change some of this later if you don't want to configure this, but might as well do it now. What we'll do in the future, .jackalope.io. That works. Project Bonsai. Oops. The future just the future design academy. For me, I like Mason and thesis. Oops, did I say that out loud? Now I'm going to change it to something else. Password admin, I'll leave that for now since you guys are going to see that anyways. I'll have to change that as well. And I'm going to leave my default password. Sorry, email. Now we are activating the theme, activating the plugins. We are creating posts. These are all the default posts, default forms, is what I mean. Well, posts, pages, forms, options are being updated. This stuff I'll show you. In the masterclass, I show you how to configure this a little more customized, but for now we're just leaving it generic as Bonsai is. Shit. Didn't want you guys to see my keys. Well, don't look. Okay, that's all looking good. New install, you don't need to touch that. Product, we don't need to touch that yet. Production, we're not going to be touching that yet. Requirements, leave that alone. Sensei, we can leave that alone, that's part of the advanced courses. And staging, we do not need to clean the database, although it's not a bad idea since we're going to be migrating it. I kind of like to keep it really clean, especially when it's going through this process. It comes into Trellis. I'm going to uncomment all of these. This is kind of how you want it looking. And here it will be the URL or the host name for the staging site, which would be the future.jackalope.io. And this would be the site name, which will be thefuture.com. We go into scripts and we can take this core install, just the core install part, not the first staging part, and we'll paste that there. Oopsies, nobody look. Okay. Go ahead and save that. For now, I'm not going to migrate the database because I want it to get up and running without that first. Okay, now that completes the configuration. For Bonsai, which is really the hardest part. So as long as you have everything set up correctly, the rest of it should be a cakewalk. I know it doesn't always work out that way in the real world because you might have missed a step along the way. You might have not been starting from a fresh version of Mac OS. You might have multiple outdated versions of running of Ansible and Node, whatnot. So it can be a bit of a headache sometimes, but once you got it running, this is as plug and play as it gets. I could not touch one of these servers for 10 years and it will still be running fine most of the time. So let's come into our GitHub repository. Let's just cross-check with our Trello board real quick. So we did quick setup, configure Bonsai. We skipped the email and security. We set up the WP CLI. And this is where I would come in and configure sync script as well. So go buy that thing. I thought I had Bonsai example. Here we go. I'm gonna go grab that sync script that I already have configured. So come into scripts, sync, copy, paste. All right, no peeking. I'll just delete all this stuff. It's kind of intellectual property of BenWord. So this is a configuration section that you focus on. Web app uploads, keep that directory the same. Bonsai test. So this is the URL for your state, for your local site. The future.test for production. It will be bonsai.thefuture.com. And for staging, it will be thefuture.jackalope.io. This site name needs to change. To thefuture.com. Bonsai staging. These need to match up with the DNS as well, and if you set up A records, you want it to match exactly. So this is bonsai.thefuture.com, and this is thefuture.jackalope.io staging. So I'll still need to set up that A record for this domain. Okay, now I can. All right. Don't forget to purchase that plugin from roots.io. It's called SyncScript. And it literally is just a script. Sorry to disappoint. Okay. Where are we at? Okay, I'm glad I remembered that. We'll add a note there. Add and by SyncScript. We'll add that to Notion so we don't forget. Configure shell scripts, sync optional. Okay, that's already there. So we did all of those except for the masterclass ones, the optionals. Okay. We have completed configuring Bonsai. So I know I don't have many live viewers at the moment, but if you're finding this in the future and you have completed this step, I'd like to congratulate you, because that was easily the most tedious, time-consuming, and boring part of spinning up a new Bonsai LMS. Actually, the worst part can be bugs sometimes, but hopefully you don't get those, because we don't like bugs around here. Okay. Next we're going to be doing is creating our local environment. And now this is where things are going to get really fun. So, we're going to set permissions. We're going to deploy local environment. Now let me just make sure I haven't missed anything in here. Okay, this is how I set the permissions. And okay, that's the exact same thing as here. Obviously this needs to be customized, so let's open up terminal. This command is going to go from online. No, that can be harmful. So we come into CD sites, but instead of Bonsai, this is called the future. Okay, and if that worked, then we should be able to come into local environment from our website by running one of the single-cell scripts. CD sites. and the double %, is like adding another command to the end of it. Then we run the shell script. Let me just add that as code. Okay. So we come into scripts, which we're already here. So we're actually just running this last part right here. And before I hit enter and run it, let me just open it back up, take a look at development, and double check and make sure I have it configured correctly. Yes, Bonsai, core install, Futur password. Ooh, okay. So I actually gonna do this off screen for a second, where I put my Gravity Forms key in there. You don't have to do this with Gravity Forms. You can talk to them to get a demo, I believe, if you need to. You can buy one of their cheaper licenses if you don't want full functionality. If money is an issue for you, there's ways around it. But I think Gravity Forms is one of the best investments because they have such a big, widely adopting community that pretty much any issues probably documented somewhere online. There's a wide range of API plugins that automatically do some really cool stuff. And oh, now I'm just showing it to you guys. And if you pay for their developer license, like, their support is really good. It's almost like having a part-time employee that can handle all of your forms in a timely manner. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Let's run that shell script and see what happens. So this is one of the longest processes of the entire thing. I believe it takes about half an hour at real time. In the tutorial videos, it's pretty sped up, so if you would like a cleaner, leaner, more focused tutorial, then check out the speedrun series. It's always going to be free. It's running the basic scripts. So yeah, this one takes about half an hour, I believe, and then I believe the ones after that take maybe 10-15 minutes. Well, we're provisioning the servers as well, so it might take a little bit longer this first time through. But yeah, that will complete creating local environment. So let's back out to courses. Next, we will deploy the staging site. Ooh. See, I somehow along the way I missed adding the A records to the DNS. So let's do that right now while we're waiting. Be cool to make a playlist out of songs on MusicBed and Epic Sounds, because there's some good music on there. Then I could get licensing to it, but for now you can follow along at my project Bonsai playlist on Spotify. Some real good chill work tunes. Alright, come on. So slow. I don't want to disconnect my Wi-Fi to the faster router because that will probably drop my live stream. I'm pretty new to all of this, so I'm kind of a noob. Alright. So in DigitalOcean, once you pointed your name servers here, then you can add domains under networking. Just add it right there. This is for the future. Interesting. What if I came multiple locations? Let's see if I need to do it in the future project. Enter a host name. It's going to be future.jackalope.io. It's going to direct to the future staging. I forget what a good TTL is for an A record, but I'll just put it 300 for now. My cousins might be watching in on Facebook. He's pretty smart, so he'd probably tell me I'm doing something wrong. You're on a Mac, plug the Ethernet first, make sure it's probably on top, then disconnect Wi-Fi. You shouldn't get disconnected. Yeah, only thing is I'm on a USB-C MacBook Pro. I don't have a dongle with Ethernet. So, yeah, Apple problems. Okay. Gonna add another one. Don't really need it, but just to show you how. And this will also be going to staging. Okay, those should be good. So Now we just need to check the propagation. I don't fully understand how things propagate because sometimes it happens so fast. I thought it was supposed to take like 24, 48 hours sometimes. I get like a big hub. Oh, Jacob, you need to come check out my place, dude. I'm trying to set up a pretty high-end VR setup right now, and it's I just love developing on my Mac. I'll probably always do web development and design, at least front-end development on the Mac OS. But when it comes to 3D and VR, obviously, Windows is the choice. So I got this thing. This eGPU. They lie to make it so dummies don't open a ticket when it doesn't propagate in 5 minutes. So this will be the future.jackalope.io, checking for an A record. Okay, it's pretty well propagated. Okay, so back to my eGPU. This beast. Look at that bad boy. Thing's ready to run some VR. And that's what I thought, at least. Because I thought that eGPUs were going to be pretty plug and play, especially with an NVIDIA running Windows. But apparently Windows and eGPUs and Macs haven't been playing nicely together for the past year, which I didn't know that. So I spent all night troubleshooting things just to realize that pretty much everyone has a constant headache with the eGPU, and then I got looking at the prices, and I'm just like realizing that a PC of equivalent processing power would be about the same price. So that's what I'm gonna do. Ordered a PC build today. I'm gonna return that stuff. I'll keep the NVIDIA card. Let's see. Dang. Sweet. I don't actually have the office anymore, so I mean, I still have some storage in there, but the building's gonna be bulldozed downtown, and since quarantine hit, my girlfriend and I realized that I don't know, we had a studio and we had a really small apartment, and having a studio downtown kind of lost its charm and its value during these challenging times. So yeah, I'm not gonna pay for an office downtown anymore. Doesn't make sense. I've invested in a home office. Just got an additional bedroom. It's way cheaper than having a studio, and this thing really gives me like creative privacy. It's awesome. Nice. Standing desk, it looks like. Yeah. Yeah, dude, this setup I've got here is pretty ridiculous. I'm gonna text a picture to you. Or I'll it's my ultimate dream, really. I could die happy right now. I'm so stoked to get this set up. Okay, how long have I been on this? I think it's gonna take extra long time since OBS is taking all my CPU power. I wonder if I can live stream from my new PC running OBS and then take my display with some type of HDMI capture tool and input that HDMI into the PC. So I can be developing on my MacBook, but streaming from the PC. Can get that 8 gigabyte VRAM. I'll have the same amount of RAM for now, 16 gigs, and I've heard the Radeon processors are pretty sweet. Jacob, if you're still there, you should tune in on that. I don't know if I've used a Radeon processor before, but for the CPU, but supposedly they're like equivalent, the cheaper equivalent than the i7 or i5. I'm using an i7 right now, and I'm building the PC with a Radeon 2600, which I've heard can outperform my i7. That'd be crazy. Yeah, it's the Radeon 5 2600. Some type of screen sharing app. I think worst case scenario, can you output? I'll figure it out. Worst case scenario, I'd literally just film it with my camera that I have. Yeah, that's quite the networking setup. Is that, yeah, that's like a server hard drive space. I forget what they call those drives. That's what it looks like, at least. Yeah, those are disks. That's awesome, dude. Is it CenturyLink or Google? Okay, where are we at? Install main cache. I think I'm getting close. So for those of you that don't know, this script is Ansible. I believe a way to describe it would be IT automation. Let's see if that's correct. Ooh, I got it. Keywords and all. Simple IT automation. I don't know how to explain it exactly. I think the same way that I think Gravity Forms can kind of give you a part-time employee that could do all things forms. I think Ansible accomplishes the same thing with IT automation, because I don't know jack shit about servers and any of that. Like, Python's been pretty easy to pick up, and some of these languages that it uses, but it's not something that I could do without Ansible. I don't think I could call myself a full stack developer without it. There's some really other cool tools that can allow you to do full stack with WordPress the right way. Laravel has Valet, which a lot of WordPress people have been using as well, or PHP. And the problem with that is it doesn't mirror your environments in the way that Trellis does. With Trellis, your virtual local environment is exactly the same as your other environments, which is pretty dope. Synology, CenturyLink Fiber, Google is installing down the street right now. Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen with Google Fiber. I've heard they're kind of struggling, and Google doesn't really hesitate to shut something down if it's not pouring in the dough. What is all the languages that Ansible uses? I think it's mostly Python, unless I'm mistaken. Okay, we gotta be, I can hear my CPU slowing down a little bit. Gotta be getting close. Jacob, do you still have that DJI drone? I think you told me you had a Mavic maybe or something. I think it'd be really interesting. I know there's some VR headsets that can connect to those, and then you can use your head as a camera controller. That'd be fun to try out. hard work. Check it, check it, check. All right, my camera went out for a second. We are getting really close to the end here. Mostly the gravity forms I do through WP CLI, the command line, and then from there I use Composer, which is a package dependency manager. I use Composer for everything that's not gravity forms. I use gravity forms and WP CLI because I can do a lot. The gravity forms has their own command line interface that I can tap into, and it's a lot more powerful than Composer given the pros and cons. So I'm splitting it between right now, which is kind of weird, but has its benefits. I wish every plugin had a command line interface. Okay, so we are done with the local development. Now for the moment of truth. Kind of nervous. So we should be able to go to the future.test and pull up a basic WordPress site. It might even be activated with my theme. Okay, something's not right. It's taking too long. Oh, it's just because my computer's being slow. There we go. Wow, load speed optimization is not going to be fun while I'm streaming. I'll have to find some different ways to optimize OBS probably. Okay, this JavaScript is expired obviously, but everything else looks pretty intact. We're not going to have any of the courses yet. That's all done in the master class. Speedrun stuff, we're going to get the facade looking all good, and we're also going to get the forms working. Okay, what about things like blog pages? Okie dokie. It's looking pretty good. Oh, that's on my old site. There. But I'm curious if docs is working. Yeah, so the cool thing about all these scripts is it's going to create all the database stuff for you, the pages, the posts. Okay, I don't have this correctly set up at the moment. Weird. Something's a little wrong there. Let me take note of that. I believe that should be all set up. Let's see. Holy. Okay. Finally. Now go to. I forgot what I was doing. That took so long. Bonsai LMS issues. I need to look into it. Wow. Okay. I really need to do something about how slow everything's running for next stream. Alright. This is the website. docs. README missing from docs page. That could be a really simple solution. And I left the password as admin for now. What? I must have set the password somewhere. Let me take a look. Admin password, admin. And username is Mason and thesis. Interesting. By default, it's usually admin. Weird, I don't think it set my username for some reason. That got reset. But I think that's gonna work. I just want to see why this docs page is missing, or the readme is missing from the docs page. Wow, this is getting unbearably slow. Good thing we are almost done with this stream. Yeah. Docs consists of post page. What can I close down? Can I close some tabs? Better quick or something's gonna crash. Let's close these. Close GitHub. Close our main server. Okay. Might help a little bit. Shows your latest posts. Yep. But as for posts, come on. No post found. Oh, that's because the README is created not in the development, is it? Yeah. Development, post create, README. And I have that HTML file. Oh, that's config. Ooh, I didn't have the content folder in there. Okay, so that's another part I'm going to need to add to the documentation. Issues. Because content folder was missing from, where's that located? It's under site. Site content directory. Okay, so I told you this was going to take multiple tries, but the one thing we've learned is that we want to have this content folder in there. Recents, let's open up Bonsai, come into copy this content directory. Paste it. Okay. So now I can show you how to customize these scripts. Jacob, if you're still with me, let me know if you're good at writing shell scripts, because this is this was the first shell script I ever wrote, and I know there's a lot more I can do with conditional logic within it, stuff like that, but this is basically just a combination of a bunch of commands. So I'm going to come into Vagrant Up. We don't need to run that. I am going to clean the database, so we can start fresh. And I'm going to repeat all of these. Composer install, yeah. No idea why I didn't set my username. Bonsai, resources, gravity forms, soil, delete the post, create 3 different posts, pages, then the readme post, blog name is Future Online Design Academy. Oops. I'll try that again. No, we'll leave that. Page 25 posts. Yep. Don't look at the key. Okay. Now let's try that again. If that would have run smoothly. Jacob is a script key. Yeah, I'd really like to learn how to make these scripts, maybe even combine them all into one big script, but just, I know you can run some cool stuff, so I could do it all within one script, clean it up a little bit, but it works for now, so no worries. Okay. Now we're going to rerun the development script. And it should ask us if we want to clean the database. let me make sure I didn't miss anything. Composer install. Okay, looks all good. For those of you that don't know, a script kiddie is somebody who downloads other people's scripts and trusts that they work. Doesn't exactly know how or why. And that's exactly what I've done my entire life until I wrote these very basic scripts. I think I'm still a script kiddie, but I was so proud of myself. This should be a lot faster because the first time you vagrant up, it does a lot of stuff. And we commented out the vagrant up. Our virtual machine is already running. Just wanted to reset the database, give it those content folders to pull HTML from. So this content folder, I have courses. This is where I export the HTML from Notion. So I'll literally export that HTML from Notion. That's why it's all minimized and minified. Hard to read. But yeah, so basically, like, for example, during the speed run we have, it's just readme right here. So this readme.html, this is the markup for the readme. And this script pulls this HTML, makes a post out of it, puts it on the docs page. So that's pretty dope. Plugins are activating. You can tell it's working when you have to re-sign in. I think it's just admin. This time it worked probably as intended. Yeah, dude, if you saw how horrible I am at JavaScript, that's all I do. I can do some pretty cool things in JavaScript if I go to CodePen or JS Fiddle and start fiddling around. But if I had to write it from scratch, no way. What is going on? Let me in. There we go. That means... Okay. So after this, we should be good to provision and deploy to the staging website. Those are two separate steps. So we'll provision first. That is a one-time use usually, at least for a while. Sometimes we'll want to re-provision for making changes to security configuration and stuff. when we do the security configuration. You get to learn how to use Ansible Vault to encrypt your configuration files so that you don't store any passwords on your repository, because that's it's a big weak point that people don't really think about a lot of times, especially if you're probably self-taught. No one ever taught you this, but you have configuration files in your repository that have passwords, and that's probably the biggest weak point of a lot of sites, is if somebody were to phish or hack into your GitHub account, something like that, then you're donezo. Okay. That should be completed. I'm seeing some success signs. I don't know. Let's take a look. The README post should be on the docs page. I believe that should be automatic. Dope. Okay, I think everything worked. No, this is still loading slow as molasses. Okay. Local environment's looking good. Let's, I think I put some stuff on the podcast page. And we're gonna get started on the staging environment. So come back into your scripts file directory, go to staging.sh. Once again, it's the first time we're provisioning and deploying. We don't need to really clean the database that doesn't exist. Coming into Trellis, adding our keys, provisioning the server. We're going to run SSH keygen for the staging URL. The future.jackalope.io. Okay, so that is for the actual domain itself for the staging server. And when you deploy, you do staging, and this is the site name from the config file. Future, that's why it's the future.com. Okay, core, that all looks good. Now I'm just gonna drop this key back in here and hide it from you sneaky peekers. Oops, I showed it to you guys again. Don't look, don't look. Okay. Did we update our changes? Yeah, so when you make changes to the scripts, you don't need to update your GitHub before you deploy, because this doesn't actually affect your website unless you run it from your local environment or any command line. So here goes nothing. This process usually takes about 15-20 minutes, I believe. But since my CPU is maxing out right now, I'll give it potentially double that time. We'll see. Alrighty, the day is never complete without a good bug. Yeah, it's not a bug, it's just my mistake, I think. 'Cause I think there's a step or two I forgot. Ooh, okay, there's one thing. Support Ansible 2.9. I'm being kind of lazy right now. Because I have one project that I'm maintaining that requires Ansible, like, 2.4, I think. Oh, I am on 2.9. What? I'm on Ansible 2. Oh, Python version 2.7. Ansible 2.9.9. Thought that's where I wanted to be. Yo. Cannot access challenge file for host domains. Let's encrypt everything. Accessible. Why is it running let's encrypt? Staging. Ooh, no. It's under trellis, group files, staging. SSL. False. Not disabled. Silly me. Okay, I believe trellis is the same way as the scripts that they don't need to, you don't need to update GitHub to deploy. Okay, so I think that should fix that, but I did just remember a step that I somehow glazed over. It's probably not well documented in the Notion, but I think it should be in Trellis, or in Trello. Let's look at new tab. It's gonna be, what file is this again? Is it etc hosts? Sudo vim etc hosts. Yeah, no, that should be created automatically. Okay, I know this is in Trello. This is a problem. That's why I document everything, because go a month or two without doing it and you completely forget the most simple of things. So download Bonsai requirements. Subservers. Yeah, add IP and host to etc hosts. I haven't been doing that lately. I don't think that's an actual required step anymore. I think it used to be. But what I'm looking for is sudo vim. It's SSH config. And I'll come down to the bottom here. Got a lot of these. I could probably clean some of these up, but I don't think they really conflict with each other. And this is the host name right here. I believe it could also be the server or the A record URL. This is for staging, so I usually will do the host name though. So this would be the Futur. I forgot what I called it. Make it long. My cousin is saying, your question on a record TTL from earlier, make it long. Here's some content I stole from website with their reasoning. When I use a long TTL, cost is becoming a big factor with TTLs. Think about the shorter the TTLs, the more often it's gonna ping the server, right? Whoa, long response. The more often the authoritative name servers will have to answer queries and your monthly bill goes up, longer your TTLs. Some additional lookup, which kind of precious milliseconds here. Top records that should have longer TTLs. MX records, DKIM, and SPF. Usually configured with MX records and TXT records. Records that point to your web server on CDN and your CDN records respectively will typically have longer TTLs since they are rarely changed for these 12 hours to 1 day. Keep in mind you will need to lower the TTL and wait until cache expires, usually around a day before making any changes. Yeah, that's usually what I try and keep in mind, is if I'm going to be changing it in the future, I'll keep it a little shorter. Man, I cannot remember what I named the host name. This should only take an hour to load. Let's sign in. I'll take a stab at it. I think it was the Futur. Yeah, this was it. Staging v0.0.1. But I will need that IP address anyways. Thank you for the useful information, Jacob. I guess the one thing I'm confused about is I thought the TTL was affected how long it would take to propagate a new A record per se. And 3,600 seconds, I believe that's a half an hour maybe. So usually set to 300, I think that's around 5 minutes or so. But even when I do create a new A record at 3,600 TTL, it seems like it happens almost instantly. So that's the main part I'm confused about. Okay. I don't know, maybe I'm mistaken. Maybe it would take a half an hour if I hadn't changed it. Okay, so what are we doing? Copy the IP address. Paste. Everything else stays the same. Escape, colon, WQ. That should be good to go. I don't know if that step is necessary, but I'm keeping it for now. Okay, let's try this again. Staging is the provision. Okay, I'll just re-provision it. Should be good. Make sure there's nothing. GitHub needs to be committed. Nope. Okay. Try this again. If this works, then we'll be done for the day. I'd say a 3-hour stream is plenty. Alright, so I hit a bug. The first thing that really throws me off guard is staging.bonsai.jackalope.io. I don't understand where that's coming from. No log true was specified for the result changed. Ignoring GitHub, the future cannot be accessed. Please verify the repository exists. Mason thesis, the future. Okay, let's check that real quick. Page not found. That's interesting. We'll just come right over here. It's a private repository, but it should have access. Okay. I meant to do this. Oh, it's because I put it on jackalope.io. Huh. I wonder if my keys will be able to access the organization. If it's coming from a group. I guess we'll find out. It's an interesting question. I haven't tried this before. Okay, so it's gonna pull the keys from there because I haven't added keys to the organization, I don't believe. So then we'll come into Jackalope, the future. And let me just drop this in production as well, so I'll run into that later if it works. Okay. Let's just test this on the deploy. So let's come back into scripts, staging. We don't need to clean the database yet because we haven't run any of the commands. Okay, so I'm gonna try commenting that out for now. Doesn't need to provision. And I don't think it needs to even do the key gen. Should just be able to retry deploying. So let's give it a try. Staging. Alright, there we go. Now we're making some progress. Oh, what is this? Non-zero return code. I get this all the time. Watch. Then I'll Google it, and it'll bring up my own article. Seriously, I'm pretty sure this happens every time. Every time that I've gone a while without doing this. Let's see. Do discourse rates. Huh, maybe not. Let's encrypt error? Is that a let's encrypt error? I thought that was like a linter through node or something. Okay, what task was it on? Reload PHP FPM. Will this one be mine? You never know. This one's mine. Okay. Oh, that's on Reload Nginx. Okay, this is on Figuring Up. That's interesting. Proposed fix. I don't think this will be relevant. It's weird that I'm getting the same code though. This guy is getting. Huh. Did I change something in the provision? Trellis. Staging. Whoa, it's saying that I didn't update this on GitHub. I don't think that matters, but I will. Configured environments and scripts. Bedrock scripts. Bedrock is the sites directory. Okay. So we're gonna reprovision. To anyone that's still watching, told you this was gonna take multiple tries. So today's just a getting my bearings straight day. I will probably redo this whole process again in the next week or so. All right. So let's look at our scripts. Running staging. We are going to reprovision it, then deploy it again. And I think that should do the trick. This could take a minute again, so we'll see you in a bit. I'm actually just going to cut the stream for now. So I'm assuming this will all go through and work. If not, I'll update the issues and the bugs. So this has been a good process to go through anyways. I hope somebody learned something valuable or does in the future. Peace.